Welcome back to my Mental Health and Crime channel. My name is Huda London. I'm a licensed cognitive behavior therapist and a licensed mental health counselor. This is for entertainment purpose only. This is the case of the Idaho quadruple murders that took place on the 13th of November, 2022. May the 4 victims rest in peace, condolence to their families, and may the correct justice be served. On the 13th of November, these 4 victims were found horrifically unlived. The 911 call wasn't made until 8 hours later. There were 2 surviving roommates and a surviving dog, Kaylee. Congav's dog, Murphy. Today I'd like to focus a bit on Ethan Chapin and his girlfriend, XANA Knodel, his last movements, their last whereabouts before this awful tragedy happened. This picture is from Inside Edition. I've always personally felt like something happened around these areas, from Taylor Avenue to the steps that leads to the victim's house. We had the 4 figures running down these steps. It seemed like they came from Kings Road or from the victim's house, and they looked like they were heading in the direction of the Sigma Chi fraternity. We know that there was a party that night. Word around town is that there was a fight in the party. There was a fight between one of the victims, Ethan Chapin, and the 2 Davids and some other guys. We've heard speculations about what the fight was allegedly about David L. allegedly using steroids, and Ethan and him exchange a few words that must have really... So definitely there was something that happened in the Sigma Chi that could have led to these horrific murders. We always have to think about not only the last hours, minutes, seconds of a person being alive. We have to actually go way back to a couple of months before. That's what we do in mental health counseling. We do a case study on a person, even from childhood, just to check if there's any childhood trauma and where the issues could be coming from. I personally would have tried to go as far as I can go into these 4 victims' life way before they were murdered. I don't mean their childhood, I mean more like their university life, their college life. Because I personally believe that these murders was committed by people who had a lot of rage, anger, hate, jealousy. They had murder on their mind, like Melly said. We read the 4chan post, and clearly in the 4chan post, if the 4chan post is true, states that the Davids had murder on their mind. They were fantasized with murder. We don't know what kind of games, video games, or PlayStation games, or Xbox games that they were playing, what kind of books they read, what kind of movies even they watch. But these two young men were had a lot of fantasies in murders. The question is, did they commit it? Because there's a difference between saying something and doing something. But when usually people say something, it is a concern because they already have that on their mind. I know that the 4chan post is created by an anonymous person. So some people would say, why would you even bring that to the picture? But I believe that it was somebody, the anonymous person was a fraternity boy, a girl, a sorority girl. It was someone who was trying to indirectly tell us what happened, who is responsible, but did not want to get their names out there. Now, when I look at the 4chan post, the reason that I'm so focused on the 4chan post and these suspects in the 4chan post is because the 4chan post, everything Mr. Anonymous wrote actually did happen. We saw figures running. And by figures running, let's not forget what the 4chan post said. They clearly stated that they are going to do this horrific unlivings within 19 minutes. They said they would not take any phone device because they did not want the Wi-Fi to catch it. That's very interesting. They said they will go on foot. They said they're going to do it on a Saturday night heading towards a Sunday morning because they said it's quiet. They said they're not going to take any guns with them, trigger warning. They said guns are too loud. Now when you pay attention to all the things that were said in the 4chan, you will notice even they mentioned, that is the most important clue, they mentioned the motives and they named the targets. The 4chan is the closest to solving this murders. The reason I say that is they had specific targets. They had 3 out of the 4 targets. They said Maddie was basically, they used some words that I wouldn't want to mention, but they said Maddie was always rude and insulted the Davids. They even said her boyfriend Jake is going to act like the grieving boyfriend and give his speech, which he did. I'm not saying Jake is involved, but I'm saying pay attention to what is going on. They said that they make sure there's no Wi-Fi connection, so they wouldn't take their phone device. They would do this in 90 minutes. And they said that Kaylee wasn't supposed to be there. That was just collaborative damage. So Kaylee wasn't their target. But guess what? I believe Kaylee was someone's target. Because Kaylee apparently suffered the most wounds and injuries. Somebody really wanted to unlive Kaylee before she leaves to Austin, Texas. Let's go back to what the mayor said. He said this is a crime of passion. How many times have you heard professionals like a mayor, the chief, or police detectives using the word of crime of passion? Crime of passion does happen. But why would the mayor say that in his first interview? He said this was a crime of passion. We've heard that this was a targeted crime, targeted attack. We heard that from the chief Fry. We heard it from what was his name? Captain Linear. We've heard it from the prosecutor, Bill Thompson, that it was targeted. They did not know if it was the residents that were the targets or if it was the occupant, either the residents of the house or it was the house itself that was the target. For the house to be a target, I've always said, it has to be something worthy in the house. Let's not forget. Was there gold? Was there diamonds? Was there rubies? Was there drugs? Was there money? Was there money laundering going in? What was in this house for the house to be targeted? Is a very interesting question. We've heard rumors of allegedly drugs being involved since Emma Bailey was seen in that house. But I try to avoid speculating in drugs and such things because let's not forget, that is more serious as accusations. We can't just accuse people of drugs because these are 4 young victims who were in college, although it was known to be a party house. So if there was drugs in the house, I'm not saying it's one of the 4 victims. It could possibly be the surviving roommates. It could be the roommate who checked in and checked out immediately, who lived in the first floor. What was her story? The police said she wasn't involved, but there's a lot of the things that the police say that I actually don't believe anymore. The reason I say I don't believe is I respect the police, but in this case, they just gave us nothing but misinformation from the start up to today. And then we are being accused of speculating. When you do not give proper information, then there's always going to be confusion. Communication, and the correct communication, is a very powerful tool in counseling. Because if you do not state, so what was in this house for the resident, for the house to be the target? I would believe more like it's somebody in the house that were targets. So that brings me back to the Sigma Chi boys. Sigma Chi boys are, not all of them, but most of them in this awful quadruple murders, the 4chan post, David Lodge was in the grub truck with his buddies. As soon as the girls walked in, right before the girls walked in, you could see the girls and Jack Showalter walking in and all 3 of the boys turning their backs towards them. They didn't want Maddie and Kaylee to notice that David Lodge was in the grub truck. I don't even think Maddie and Kaylee knew about the fight in the Sigma Chi, because let's not forget they were in the corner club. David Lodge was in the grub truck for a reason, besides getting food. While David Lodge was in the grub truck and the girls, something happened to Ethan and XANA. Because people were yelling out XANA's name, there were a crowd, a group of maybe 12, 14 people yelling, XANA, no XANA, XANA, XANA. Why would you yell XANA Kernodle's name if XANA isn't there? XANA doesn't play football. She's not part of the vandals who were playing the football that night. because I heard somebody saying in my comment they were watching the Vandals game. Why would they watch it when they could have watched it live? This was at night. We have to sometimes, I don't mean to be rude, sometimes we have to use our common sense. Why would they be watching football in the grub truck and calling out XANA's name? XANA is a unique name out of the 4 victims. XANA is not an everyday heard name. Something happened to XANA. Something happened to Eaton. I've heard people saying it was a fight club. I've heard people saying it had to do with drugs. I heard each and everything that I can hear. But I personally will stick to and believe, since the last 4 or 5 months, I've been talking about the 4chan. And I've noticed other creators, everyone in YouTube has actually started talking about the 4chan posts all over again. And I appreciate that, because it needs more awareness. These were college kids, I personally believe, who did it. Even if BK was involved, which I won't be surprised if he was involved. I'm just saying BK didn't do this on his own. The police said only one K-bar knife was allegedly used. That's what all the news media is saying. But how could one person use one sharp knife on 4 victims who are young and healthy? Eaton was 6'4". What were these suspect using? It couldn't be one knife, because a knife would have, if the knife is not strong enough, it would have given up in the middle of what was going on. Trigger warning. Because let's not forget, Kaylee and XANA, may they rest in peace, had defensive wounds. That means they fought back. That knife wouldn't have lasted for 4 people. So someone is lying. Timelines are being changed. From 3 to 4 a.m. was the timeline. The coroner pronounced the deaths at 2 a.m. So how could the coroner pronounce the deaths at 2 a.m. and after 2, but the deaths happened at 4:25? Explain that. Make that make sense. The coroner was actually being honest. She was told to keep her mouth shut because she said too much. I wish she said more. Eaton, his mother, Stacy Chapin, said 2 a.m. is the most toughest time for us all. Us all could mean her family, or it could mean all the victims' family. But I believe she meant her husband, her family, her immediate family, the 2 surviving triplets. The reason I say that is she couldn't have been talking for all the other families, because we know that Kaylee and Maddie were alive at 2:52. Allegedly. We actually don't even know that, because we've been told that their phones were used to call Jack D. What if Jack D called himself? Allegedly. It's possible. What if Jack S was the one doing it and he called Jack D from their phones to tell him that you're late, you're supposed to have been here, for whatever reason? We don't know who made those calls to Jack D. Let's not forget, Jack D lives only a minute away from the girls. But the witness for Jack D, who said that Jack D was at home upstairs sleeping, was Adam. Adam, what did Maddie tell you? What did Mary exactly tell you? Why was Kaylee so upset? And she said, Mary, what did he tell Adam? And Mary said, I told Adam like everything. What is everything? Adam, how come you moved to Austin, Texas? Wasn't that the place Kaylee was supposed to move to? What about the landlords who own this house that the victims lived in? I heard they're from Texas or Colorado or somewhere around those areas. I'm just trying to find the links and the connections that bring all these people together. But Ethan and XANA is my topic of the day, and I would say Ethan and XANA. Something happened to them when they came from the Sigma Chi fraternity party. The red Jeep that is owned by Ethan and his brother was at the Sigma Chi party, so I wonder if his brother saw him. But the red car, Jeep, another vehicle, I heard it's Maisie's vehicle, the other triplet, I'm not really sure. But two of Ethan's vehicles and his golf set are all frozen under evidence. So this is my theory. What if Ethan and XANA had the fight in Sigma Chi fraternity in the party? Let's say BF saw everything that happened, and then they drove home in Ethan's red Jeep. We heard the Linda Lane footage, although Linda Lane was debunked. I don't believe in things that are debunked. Nothing should be debunked here. Everything should be put in. Bring everything in until we make sense of this. So imagine we heard in the Linda footage a loud sound that Chaos Sector said that it sounds like somebody's been hit or pushed at the vehicle. What if that was Ethan getting off his car and they attacked him there? And they took his golf set and used it on him. They must have used a sharp-edged knife too. But what if that was the case? We are not going to find that out because they said that they all were stabbed. They're not going to say that they were beaten before they were stabbed. Then we have the alcohol offense at, was it 3:01? The time report? I think the alcohol offense, the call came in so that they could distract the undercover cops. That's what I really believe. Because let's not forget, at that same minute, there was a car flashing their lights, driving near in front of the girl's house. Do you all remember that? Isn't that strange that that was happening at 3 a.m.? That came on Banfield. That came on different kind of news. And then within 49 days, when they arrested Brian Christopher Kohlberger, boom, they changed the timelines. No more 3 to 4. All of a sudden it becomes 4 to 4:25. There's a delivery driver that we've never seen, but allegedly there was one. XANA's father said that XANA was at home that night. She said she was going to chill at home. They were going to chill at home. That means her and Ethan. That was at 12 at night. So did something happen around 2? Did they go to the party later? Or did they go out for something and come back? And when Ethan was getting off his car, they attacked him? Could that be possible? Let me know in the comment channel. Please like, share, and subscribe. Justice for these 4 precious victims. May they rest in peace. Condolence to the family.